Beginning on time. Are we? I believe we are. Say, me and my cat are here on time. I believe he's 20 seconds late. I guess I am 20 seconds late. Unbelievable, I know. Absolutely unforgivable, unacceptable that I would allow such a thing to transpire. But here we are. And let me just make sure. Excellent. The audio is working absolutely fine. Whew. Okay. So let's get going with today. Waiting for the top 0.1%. Alrighty. So, welcome, guys. Welcome to the early birds who have here caught the worm. And I just gotta say, because the moment I said that, I instantly thought about the movie Argyle. There is a line in the movie that's absolutely dumb and ridiculous, and yet I love it. The twirly bird gets the worm. If you haven't seen the movie, it's actually one that, despite all of the negative reviews that movie's been getting, it has been getting panned and harpooned. I would recommend, uh, I would recommend going to see Argyle. Even though, yeah, it doesn't have as much Henry Cavill as I think a lot of people wanted, it is, I think, still a pretty smart movie. And I'm saying that in defiance of one of my sisters who went and saw it last night, and she was like, I hated it. I hated it. Why? Why, Lars? Why do you like this? And that's actually going to be one of the things I want to talk about. Maybe not necessarily the movie Argyle, but I want to talk about twists here in a bit. Since we got things on the docket for tonight are twists, romance, how to make magic work for your world, and of course, the art of the girl boss. I'm going to try to do something slightly different than some of the things that we've done before. It may get the stream taken down. Who knows? We will find out. Actually, right before we went live here, I was working on a video that's supposed to come up. It's supposed to go up on Monday, and I already got a notification that it has been copyright claimed. Yay! So I will show a chunk of it to you guys right here, right now. Yes, villainous. Oh man, I am sad that I was not more on the ball for when this show hit and really took off, because it is fantastic. It is great and glorious. And I actually only found out that it had been that its first like full season, or I guess technically they're saying it's actually its second season, that its second season was premiering when I was a teacher and I was cleaning up my classroom with just stuff randomly playing on my phone. And then they're all like, and here's Dr. Flug getting kissed by Miss Heat. And I was like, wait, what? Flug? What? Oh, Villainous is back? And then I didn't want to teach that day. I just wanted to watch. There's only way to find out, and it's by doing it. Yeah, so we will find out here. We'll find out here real soon. I mean, I might get copyright struck for even just having this stuff play here on the live stream. Since some of the footage right here that's right currently playing is going to be in the video for Monday. But in keeping with what I said in the video about toxic relationships, this month, yes, it's Valentine. It's the month of Valentine's. It's February. It's the time that we normally would love to just talk about all of the sweet, gooey, romantic, perfect, healthy relationships that are out there. I've wanted to tackle the subject of toxic relationships during this month specifically, and look at some of the problems that creators run into, oftentimes by overly glorifying toxic relationships and normalizing them, which is not okay in my book whatsoever. But at the same time, there is a place within fiction, I believe, to display toxic relationships and do something very interesting with them, to either help build up characters or to help create really good contrast, or to get across certain themes that you wish to communicate, whether it be about romance, character development, relationships, so forth. Toxic relationships can be used well in a fictional setting, but you kind of got to get, you have to know kind of what you're doing with them. And Villainous did a fantastic job with Mrs. Heed at the end of Villainous season 2. So we'll be diving into that come Monday. uh, can't wait for my uncle to ask, what about the girlfriends? Oh my. You're not a harem protagonist, but get those thoughts out of your head. All right. So yeah, so Valentine's Day coming on up. I hope you guys have got some good, have some good plans for what you wish to do when Valentine's Day comes out. Even if you don't have a romantic partner or even a crush, Valentine's Day is, I think, a fun day. One of my best experiences on a Valentine's Day actually was one year I didn't have a crush. I didn't have anyone I was dating or anything like that. I was absolutely, completely single. And what I did for Valentine's Day was I made a bunch of bacon strips, artistic bacon strips that I then put romantic poems onto, mostly cheesy poems. And I handed them out to people and I just said, here's your Valentine card for today. Have some bacon, have some bacon. If you don't like it, pass it along to someone else. Everyone loves bacon and everyone needs something nice, something to enjoy on Valentine's Day. Rubens. Oh yeah, I almost forgot about the existence of the show. Yeah, this is a show that I think has kind of unfortunately flown back under the radar as yeah, it I don't know what Cartoon Network was doing with it. Then again, Warner Brothers did sink a whole lot of their animation division. Plus, this is a cartoon that was made in Mexico. And when you have cartoons skipping on over from different countries coming on around, it's very easy for hubs like Warner Brothers and Cartoon Network to just be like, yeah, never mind, and drop sometimes a really fantastic foreign series, especially if it's not making them tons of money. And normally, cartoons don't make big companies a whole lot of money because they're not monetizing them properly. This sigh. So yeah. Well, there we go. With that's just kind of what I wanted to say right there. Have fun on Valentine's Day. Come up with something cool. It doesn't matter if you've got a date or a crush. Do something cool, and keep an eye out for this particular video when it comes out. I remember the shorts of 3 minutes from show to show. Yeah, that's mostly what it was. The shorts were kind of a plea of like, please, some studio pick this up. It's great. And it was then given some sponsoring. It was given a budget to then actually make an actual short season. And it ended with the episode of Flug versus Miss Heed. Oh, fantastic. Freaking fantastic. So that's what I'll be diving into come Monday. And let's see here. With that being said, let me pop on over to our next little bits of video. So talking about anime from this week. I've again been busy. So what happens? This is why I'm impressed with any person who can keep up with all the seasonal anime. The Apothecary Diaries, still as great as ever. And I'm looking forward to yet more mysteries for Mao Mao to solve. And something I find interesting, just because I'm seeing the footage right in front of me right here, is that a lot of the stuff that was shown in the opening number for the first half of the season, which we didn't get to see, is now coming to fruition or being hinted at, wink, wink, here in the second half of the season. So, for instance, we have some sort of ritual coming on up, Mama also being attacked and getting beaten up, also her mother doing things, looking like she's playing shogi. All of that was stuff that was shown to us at the beginning of in the beginning of the first half of the season, and none of that was followed up on or even really hinted at. And now that we're in the second half of the first season, all of that stuff is coming on back. And I actually kind of like that. I like it when a show is not scared to give hints at what is to come. And I actually think that that's a good narrative bit to do. It's one of the reasons why, again, coming full circle to the beginning with talking about Argyle, I believe that Argyle's twists work because of all of the groundwork that it does throughout the movie to provide hints and world building clues. So that way, when the twists come, you're not lost. So that's going to take us on into what I have written down on a little post-it note here to kind of be the very first thing about writing that I wish to talk about tonight. And after that, we will then get into the big stuff, which is going to be the art of the girl boss. So, twists. I feel like as much as I love M. Night Shyamalan, who did absolutely phenomenal work in some of his earlier movies, like no one can take away the success that is The Sixth Sense or Unbreakable, which is just so good. Unbreakable, The Sixth Sense, and I would even throw into there a movie like Signs. I really feel like Signs did a fantastic job with the reveals and with the twists. The thing is that if you want to have a good twist, you need to put in the legwork ahead of time. You need to show people bits about your world, things about your characters, have conversations, details in the background, and so forth that make sense of the twist when it comes. If you don't do that, if you just simply pull a twist because you think that'll be really fun and it will shake up the story, you really run the risk of losing your audience as you go along. And you have to make sure that you do it more than in just one little like blurb, like hidden in a paragraph back in chapter 3 makes a twist back in over in chapter 20 make total sense. That doesn't work. You have to add a little bit more context clues before you pull that twist. Otherwise, it just doesn't work out. ISO, welcome. Hey, you're preparing dinner. I hope you're enjoying a delicious dinner. Eat up. Ruben's plot twist. Gravity Falls actually existed before Newton invented it. Oh, gravity. Not Gravity Falls, gravity. Man, tells you where my brain is at. Gravity actually existed before Newton invented it. I know. Isn't that crazy? Who would have guessed that gravity is a constant universal truth? But actually, thinking about Gravity Falls, the reveal of who would be who is the actual author, you had all of those context clues back in season 1 with Stan freaking out about the doppelganger, the wax statue getting killed, and sure, everyone chalked it up to the fact that Stan is a total narcissist. He's Stan Pines. We love him. But so you had that little bit, which was played off for a joke, but in hindsight, you're like, oh yeah, no, that does make sense, especially when he freaks out because he sees himself. And what we're told is that Ford and Stan can be hardly told apart, except for how many fingers they have on their hands and the cleft in their chin, because Stan doesn't have that. And then, of course, you have the very nice bit of handwriting for Stanford Pines when you see the contract, the deed for the land for the Mystery Shack. And yet when we see Stanley writes, his handwriting is absolutely atrocious. So right there, we begin to get another clue. And all of these things stack up on top of each other. Of course, also you have the episode where Mabel and Dipper are going throughout time, screwing things up with Brendan Blandon's time measuring strip, and you get a shot of Stanford. And immediately, again, you see the cleft in the chin, which a lot of people are like, oh, that can't be Stanley, because you don't just simply lose or gain a cleft in your chin. So stuff like that was right there, that if you were paying attention when it's then revealed, Stan Pines as a twin brother, it makes sense. From Mr. Emeriv, what are you going to tell me that ancient people saw the world in color? Yes, yes, they did. It's really, really weird seeing pictures, old time pictures that have actually been restored through various chemical actions and whatnot, where you then see just how colorful the past was. Peter Jackson, for instance, going back and making sure that he could color in all of the footage from World War I is just bonkers. He's like, wow, people did like color. And there was in the front, which we always just envision as this dark, grimy, horrible place, which it was full of way more color than we normally see represented. So yeah, the ancients did see stuff in color. Incredible. From Rubens, Gravity Falls title is weird. When I first watched, I was expecting gravity to go from 9.94 meters per second squared to 5 meters per second squared for some reason. What you mean that there aren't 15 tiny different horses running my car from the engine? I know, it's strange. Where's all that? I want to know where that freaking horsepower is coming from. Was weird seeing old videos made with the first HD cameras. Yes. Oh boy. But yeah, so coming back to it. Twist. Gravity Falls put in the legwork in order to get that twist just right. In fact, they did it so well and probably handed off too many hints, which is why they actually axed the third season. Well, they axed half of the third season and they axed half of the second season and brought them back to and brought the two together, which in hindsight was really good because Disney probably would have axed Gravity Falls before they had a chance to finish it properly. Based on everything that Alex said before his NDA ran out, all the little clues and stuff like that, I think Disney would have tried to axe Gravity Falls had they gone for a full 3 seasons. So in hindsight, it's actually a good thing they dropped so many clues, which then got the fans immediately saying, oh, Stan has a twin brother, which kind of spoiled it a little bit, but hey, it all worked out perfectly. So yeah, in order to make a twist work, you have to make sure you put in the groundwork ahead of time. For one of my books, Bleed, Steam, and Steel, there's a couple of twists to the book that you get at the very end. One of the things that I really agonized over when talking with my beta readers was, did I give away the ending too much? And they're like, no, I kind of got blindsided by it. And it's like, okay, then if you got blindsided by the ending, did the ending at least make sense? Were you able to piece everything together, or were you all like, well, that just happened. I guess I enjoyed the book. Most of it was fine. That ending was weird. I'm going to put this aside. And luckily, my beta readers said you had given us just enough that the ending did make sense. It's a little bit wild, and that's one of the things that, again, I absolutely agonized over it while writing that book because the ending is wild for Bleed, Steam, and Steel. If you're one of those people who skips to the end of the book and is like, so what do we have here at the end? It will make no sense unless you've read your way through the book and have gotten the context clues. So that's how you should set up a twist. And believe you me, there is no magic formula to make that happen. In order to figure out how to do a good twist, you're going to have to put in the legwork. You're going to have to try it out for yourself, and you're going to have to make mistakes, and you're going to have to get feedback from editors and beta readers who will let you know what's working and what isn't. And take it to heart, especially if you're trying to leave clues behind. If someone says they're not picking up on the clues, that means they are not picking up on the clues. They're not being rude to you. They're actually genuinely saying that. So you'll want to then go back and see what you can do, what you can refine, what kind of breadcrumb trail you can leave. Otherwise, you'll just lose people. And if you put it on too thick, people will let you know that you're putting it on too thick, because people do want a twist if you're going to put in a twist. If you promise them a twist, you got to give it to them. If you want to surprise them, you have to make sure that you have the proper misdirect, like a good magician. And the fun thing about being an author and pulling off a magician's trick is that you don't have to worry about putting on a whole bunch of showmanship and hope that no one's looking at your left hand while you're wowing them with the right. Ruben, stop giving me spoilers for World War II. I'm still in the Industrial Revolution. I don't even know what Germany is. Oh, poor Germany. I love Germany, but it's, yeah, what was happening with Germany for most of its history? I'm someone who occasionally peeks at the end just to see where it ends up and maybe piece things together as I read through the book. Ruben's, I'm straight to the point. Dude is alive equals good ending. Not really, though. Yeah, it depends on the story. Yeesh, there are some stories you're like, maybe it'd just be better if you know, uh, died. Looking at you, Shadow of the Conqueror. But yeah, so there's my basic take on what you need to know in order to write a good twist. Please put in the groundwork ahead of time. Practice it out, get feedback, make those mistakes, and refine your process. Fix things as you get feedback from editors and beta readers. Otherwise, it will all just fall apart. So, with all of that being said right there, let's get to the thing that may or may not get this stream shut down. So, I'll jump on over to it right here. Okay, so before I actually start playing this right here, let me tell you what we're going to be doing right here with Villainous Level 99. If you haven't seen this yet, I'm going to be spoiling some of this for you. Let's go. I love the risk. Is he going to talk about adultery? Maybe that's where this goes. Ugh. So what I'm going to do right here is this. As I've said in the past, I'm not a huge fan of doing the live commentary. However, I do kind of want to do that right here with what I've basically done with 4 episodes of Villainous Level 99. I've edited a whole bunch of different clips together to kind of give you the story of Yumilia and her and how you set up good girl boss moments. So let's first actually start off at the beginning. Girl bosses and girl boss moments. The quote unquote girl boss is actually, or at least at her inception, was a good thing. This idea of a self-made woman, and we like those kinds of heroes who are going to come on in and just kind of throw, like they're going to upset the natural order. They're going to be the underdog. They're going to win the day. They're going to do something awesome. They're going to wow us with their strengths, with their intelligence, with their charisma. And that was basically the idea of the girl boss, a woman who could take charge against all odds and really establish herself either as a successful businesswoman, as the heroine of the story, as the popular girl, the girl who would overthrow the order and become the popular girl at the school, what have you. That was the positive thing. It's the underdog story. And who doesn't like a good underdog story? For all of you history nerds out there, I'll tell you who doesn't like a good underdog story. The entire world hates underdog stories. Spicy moment right here, spicy take. Europe should never have conquered most of the globe. It is a backwater peninsula that hates itself, that for centuries they were constantly butchering each other, lost a third of its population to the bubonic plague, to the Black Plague, and yet came back and conquered most of the globe. That is what you call an underdog story, and everyone hates it. So there's your spicy historical take. When we say that everyone loves an underdog story, we love fictional underdog stories. The world in general hates underdog stories because people hate being on the receiving end of the underdog as he or she battles their way through the ranks and takes everyone else out in the process. So, coming back to it right here. The thing is that the girl boss unfortunately took a very negative turn a few years back. Part of that came from lazy writing. People not actually setting up good heroic characters, specifically female heroic characters. They would just simply give her everything that she needed. She didn't have to earn her place, which is actually antithetical to the idea of a girl boss, because a girl boss is supposed to be someone who, against all odds, breaks through the ceiling, beats all the odds, and becomes the hero of the story. That is a girl boss. And a girl boss moment is when all of her hard work culminates and she is able to defeat the thing, the antagonist, the force, or the people who held her back from being the person that she was meant to be, meaning the hero. That is what we want to see. That is what makes that's what makes a good girl boss moment. So effectively, a girl boss is just a hero. She is a hero. The problem is that, again, because of lazy writing, which has now become absolutely endemic within modern entertainment, the girl boss suddenly just comes on in. She begins owning all the haters, winning at everything because she was always awesome. And where's the struggle? Where's the journey? As a result, it comes off as lazy and degrading. It just aggravates people, which is sad to see, because again, a girl boss in its historical form as a trope, the historical I'm getting tripped over my words. This is what we edit out of the usual videos. At its inception, at its beginning, the girl boss trope and the girl boss moments were actually very good, positive things, because it is the hero's journey for a girl who has been oppressed. However, as we have gone through time, because of lazy writing, and because women are just supposed to be amazing from the get-go, the struggle has been lost. And so then when you see a girl come into a story and just immediately triumph or get her way, it feels unearned. It feels lazy. It feels bad. And so people, when they talk about girl bosses and girl boss moments within stories, they mean it negatively. And I would like to see the girl boss and the girl boss moments truly reclaimed through good writing. And so when I look at Villainous Level 99, what I see here is I actually see a great girl boss and good girl boss moments. And these are built up throughout the show, throughout the story, as we are given information about the character, we are given proper context, we are shown what kinds of difficulties she has to go up against, and we also get to see her obtain that level where she's able to beat down those obstacles, where she's able to beat the haters and prove herself the hero. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at this edit, this compilation of different moments from the first 4 episodes that are supposed to tell us about Yumilia, the main character, how she becomes so OP, and then we'll get to see the struggles that she has, even though she is an overpowered character. I really like to see that. And how then she figures out how she can overcome some of those problems with that power, or maybe with a different skill. So that is what we're going to be looking at right here. And yeah, this could be the copyright moments. We will see what happens here. But really quick here, jumping on over to some of the comments you guys have. For myself, I need my own girl boss to be genuine, kind, and also very intimidating to her enemies. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like that's totally fine. And honestly, that's the kind of stuff that I think we need to see a little bit more of. Because again, it seems as though too many of the girl bosses that are delivered to us as of late are just cold, uncaring figures. It seems as though all of the writers had a look at Clint Eastwood's characters and decided to try to write them, to impose them onto a female character without actually even understanding a lot of the characters that Clint Eastwood portrays, because actually a lot of the characters, even someone like Dirty Harry, is actually a fairly caring character once you stop to really observe and think about what it is that he's doing, what he says. So even Dirty Harry has got a soul to him, he's got a heart. And it seems as though too many writers nowadays have forgotten that when they try to recreate a Clint Eastwood-esque character, especially when it comes to writing a strong female character. And that's one of the reasons why I did a video about, like, come on, guys, strong female characters come in all kinds of shapes and shades. Here to Rubens, classic Brazilian literature, also known as imperial literature, was common to have a woman as a main character, and she usually is assertive, but it starts low to then become high, which is why people love it. Yes, absolutely. That is what we want to see right there. And a little bit more context from Rubens. It was from 1875 to 1889 because our emperor had a daughter, and everyone was waiting for an empress. Let's say the army didn't let it happen, if you get it. Oh boy, yes, politics, real world politics. Oh man, Spain can say the same thing. Do not get me started on the revolutions of Spain. So let's go through these clips right here. I've basically edited down 4 episodes to the length of 1 episode. We'll watch this amalgamous episode, and as we go, talk about what makes this work and what works, and maybe even in some cases what doesn't. I'll actually talk a little bit about what doesn't work in these clips. So let's start. Whoop. Let me get that audio. Oh, come on. There we are.
どうかしましたか？アリシア・エンライトさん。なぜ私の名前を？いえ、ちょっと。
ここまでだ！ユミエラ！てめえもいよいよ悪運の尽きる時が来たぜ！
聖なる光の魔法よ、闇を打ち払い、我に力を授けたまえ。
Wiped out. What? You mean to tell me this was all just a video game? Thank you, Prince Edwin. As the other guys look on like, why don't I get the hug?
朝だ。よくある。
It's morning. Okay, Rubens, let me tell you already something right here, because I see your comment right there. A big sword, physics laws violated. Let me tell you something right here. One of the best Halloween experiences of my life. I had a sword about the size of Guts's Dragon Slayer sword from Berserk. Granted, it was made out of cardboard and duct tape, but that thing was still really, really heavy. I carried that thing around while going trick-or-treating. Oh boy, I got so much candy. I ring the doorbell, people would open up, they're like, I'd say trick or treat, and the very first thing, aren't you a little too old to? Oh, never mind. And they just hand me the candy, like, oh sweet, see you later. And I just carry around this huge sword. Who cares if it's unwieldy? Who cares if it takes your entire body weight to swing this thing even once and not fall over? It gets you candy. That is why you want a freaking huge sword, because it gets you candy on Halloween. All right, continuing on.
ストーリー。ただ、魔王を倒したエンディング後に最強の裏ボスが現れる。彼女はユミエラ・ドルクネス。闇魔法属性で主人公のアリシアに嫌がらせをしていた悪役令嬢。なんと私である。私が前世の記憶を取り戻したのは5歳の時だった。
So, if you haven't already picked up right here, yay, it's another isekai anime right here. Or more specifically, we have an otome isekai, where you have usually a girl, in this case it is a girl, a college girl, who has been isekai'd into the dating simulator game that she had just played. If this is why you should probably be careful about what games you actually play in real life, just in case this should happen to you, because then you might end up in Elden Ring or something like that. And if you end up in any of the Souls games, it's just going to be the worst isekai that you could ever possibly imagine. So what we have right here, this is our setup. Girl gets isekai, finds out she's the villain. She is the hidden boss of the game. Not necessarily the one that the other players or the other characters must fight, but depending on which route you choose within the game, you will fight. And she knows the game well enough to understand, yes, if the right choices are made, I am probably going to get killed. Like what we've seen, like what we saw here in the beginning. Ryan just jumped in. Speaking of big swords, Cloud's Buster Sword has infuriated me for years. Love it. Hey, don't you speak anything bad about that Buster Sword. I grew up on that sword. All right.
女子大生だった私はトラックにはねられてこの世界に転生したのだ。だが私は考えた。ラスボスを超えるポテンシャルを持ち、主人公パーティーの誰より強く、敵キャラしか使えなかった闇属性の魔法が使える。それって最高では。
Okay, so pausing it right here to talk about something that I feel is already done wrong right here. So again, if you want a good girl boss moment, you need to make sure that the character is able to build up to that moment where she's able to own the obstacles, own the people who held her back, and achieve the status that she had always been striving for. Now, granted, this girl right here, she wakes up in the game and discovers that she is Yumilia, who is meant to be the strongest boss of the game. That hints to her that she is already innately stronger. Which, okay, fine, but the problem is that this story has already handed the main character a ton of power. And that is a little bit aggravating right here. Unless, as we're going to see, the character can still grow using that power and is still challenged despite having that power. This is the dangerous line that anyone walks if they decide to do a power fantasy, especially when you are dealing with characters who have the potential to be completely overpowered. And I say that as someone who, if you read some of my books, I love writing OP characters. But one of the reasons why I like writing overpowered characters is because of this situations that I can then create for them. Sure, you're overpowered. Sure, you've got godly powers. What kinds of challenges can a god face? Especially if, for instance, what if you don't respect the powers that you've been given? What are the consequences of the powers that you use? That is where things can get really interesting. And it also gets a whole lot of fun where if a character doesn't immediately understand their powers, what are some of the problems that they're going to run into when using said powers? Which is, again, one of the reasons why, if I hop on over to Shadow of the Conqueror, when I did my review of it, I did not rat on how many times the main character was experimenting with his powers. Because if you have a whole ton of magic, but you're not sure what it does, of course you're going to have to experiment. And of course you're going to make mistakes. That just, to me, makes sense. Rubens, Isekai anime in a nutshell. The main character has God's number, is basically immortal, and has an alpha aura that creates a romantic gravitational pulse. Also wins every fight except the one before the last. Yeah, it tends to usually run that way. Which is why, for instance, stuff like Konosuba or ReZero really sticks out, because the heroes don't win. Either they don't win very often, or if they do win, horrible things happen, like what happens in Konosuba. So already right here, with this part of Villainous Level 99, we can see a little red flag right here. But I will contend that it deals with that red flag fairly well, as we're about to see.
もともとこの国は魔王を倒した勇者と聖女によって起こされた。その魔王が黒髪だったことで、黒髪は不吉。悪の象徴とまで言われている。そうだ。
Okay, so I'm going to pause it again right there. That is something already that is very important. And I love that limitation which has been put onto Yumilia, that people who have black hair, thanks to the history and basically the lore, the religious lore behind how this country was founded, states that anyone with black hair has a connection to the ancient demon lord and is therefore evil. So because she has black hair, even her own family doesn't want to be around her. As such, she is incredibly isolated. That isolation is going to lead to her not being able to read people as well as she probably should. She lacks good social interactions. But on top of that, there's always going to be people who are prejudiced against her. If you wish to have a happy life, you want to try to get rid of those misunderstandings. You want to try to solve them. And going up against all of that history and even your own looks, that's something that's really hard to overcome in real life or in a story, unless you just make the character easily blast their way through everything, which is boring. So one of the things that I like about Villainous Level 99 is that you have these built-in limitations for Yumilia that she is going to have to deal with. So while she is introduced as the hidden boss with all of this amazing power, she has just been handicapped with isolation and with the fact that everyone is already predisposed, they're already prejudiced towards her because of her black hair, and that's something that she's not going to easily be able to change unless she gets her hands on some magic hair dye.
次非回遊の物語をなぞる必要はない。私は恋愛シミュレーション部分には興味がなかった。3人の攻略対象にも思い入れゼロ。だから非回遊のストーリーには参加しないで、目立たず平穏な学園生活を送ればいい。勝手なことをしないように。
Okay.
そして、
So, already right there, we have another limitation. Because she knows, as the last boss of the game, as the hidden boss, should the right sequence of choices be made by the heroine, there's a very good chance that she could end up fighting against these heroes. And there's a chance that she could be killed. Now then, she's already died once thanks to a truck crashing into her, and she doesn't want to die again. Very understandable. So a new limitation is live in such a way that no one knows that you're the hidden evil boss, so that way you can have a nice, peaceful life and everyone's going to leave you alone. So right there, we have another limitation which has been placed upon our OP character. And I like that. Hydrogen peroxide, yes, you can also change your hair with that.
結婚相手を見つけるためのお目付け役や報告役も兼ねているらしい。同級生に第二王子のエドウィン殿下もいらっしゃるとか。その第二王子殿下には大層悪印象を持たれているのだが。というか、私のレベルについての騒動は知らないのか。それでいいのか、お目付け役。ねえ、中央もどきってどういう意味か知ってる？誰かにそう言われたのですね。お嬢様が気にすることはありません。私が言われたとは一言も言っていないのだけれど。やっぱりドルクネス家を指す言葉なのね。中央貴族と地方貴族についてはご存知ですよね。ええ、うちは地方貴族でしょ。王都で何かしらの役職についているわけではないみたいだし。はい。
Alright, so one other limitation that has been placed upon our OP character, based on what was there in that clip, is this. Despite being born into a noble family, which one would think, already gives you so much advantage in this world, not really, because her family is part of the outer nobility. They belong in the outer regions, and as such, they are not readily accepted within the capital, which is the center of power. So sure, you're a noble, but unless you have any kind of ways of advancing or being noticed or getting more power or more money, you are left stagnant and often forgotten. And one of the things that goes for nobility anywhere in the world, whenever there's been kingdoms, is that noble families are always terrified of losing their standing, losing their power, losing their holdings. So the only way in which you can really hold on to what you have is normally by increasing what you have. Because if you're left stagnant, people will take that as weakness and then come after you. It's the dog-eat-dog world of being on top. And so And so for the Dolkinus family, which is what Eumelia was born on into, they're trying to suck up to the people within the capital by moving into the capital while leaving their daughter, who no one likes because she's black-haired, out in the countryside. So what this leaves Eumelia with is, oh crud, I'm the hidden boss. I could get killed by the heroes. No one likes me because I've got black hair, and they're all going to think I'm the demon lord. And I've been severely isolated throughout my life, and on top of that, my own parents abandoned me, and I belong to a noble family that already is kind of disliked because we are from the sticks. And so when I go into polite society, when I go to the magical school, people are already predisposed yet again to looking down on me. Oh boy, and I want to live a peaceful, happy life under the radar? That's not going to happen. She has to deal with all of these social issues, which is going to be a little bit difficult, considering the fact that because she's been isolated, she's not developed good social skills. And because she was an otaku, spending her time playing these otame games, of course, her social skills are in the toilet. So yay, there you go. These are the problems. These are the obstacles that this OP character has to deal with. And it doesn't matter how strong you can punch. It's not necessarily going to get rid of prejudice now, is it? A couple more things right here. Dying to a truck crash. How did she not notice the truck? Yeah, and actually having been to Japan, it's always hilarious now when I see the people like died in car accidents, because having been in Japan and having actually like walked in busy areas, like seriously, you have had the worst luck possible, because they are cautious drivers. There's plenty of room to move, and yeah, you have to really have been an idiot and also have bad luck. So all right, here we go. Moving on again.
でも、できるだけレベルは上げておこう。いざとなったら、自分で魔王が倒せるくらいに。
All right, so she's going to go out and she's going to grind for level.
普通に使えるな。魔物を倒すと魔石が手に入る。売ればお金になるはずだ。もともとのめり込む性格だった私は、毎日のように屋敷を抜け出し、レベル上げに熱中した。さらに、魔石をお金に変えて、各種アイテムを購入。まず買ったのは、成長の護符。守護の護符を買えば身を守ることができるけど、これを身につければ、レベル上げのスピードも格段に速くなる。そうして。
Okay, so, let's have a little chat right here. So here's again another good thing that's happening. Even though she's OP and we see that the magic already just comes to her so naturally, she still is going to grind for levels. She is going to boost her level as much as possible, so that way if push comes to shove and she needs to get out of the country or she needs to end the game in a happy way, she can kill the demon lord herself, be considered the hero, and then take as a boon that she can like live somewhere far away from everyone else and live in peace. So, okay, there's a good idea right there. And even though the magic comes easily to her, she needs power. She needs to level up if she wants to beat the demon lord. So she is actually going through the process of practicing her magic, grinding for levels, beating monsters, and gaining resources. All of that's really, really good. However, oh, this is one thing that infuriates me when it comes to world building, especially when I see people using video game mechanics for their world. In her little explanation blurb right there, she said that almost no one else actually ever uses an amulet of growth, and said they go for an amulet of protection because it keeps them safer. And while I understand that people would want to feel a little bit more safe when going around fighting monsters, if people understand in this world, as we get to see later on, that there is such a thing as leveling up, people would want to level up. They would want to get the most experience that they could, become stronger, so that way they can protect themselves from all sorts of monsters. Why then does no one else buy an amulet of growth and thereby level up really quickly? This is going to be something that we're going to see later on, that people are like, oh, buy an amulet of growth? Why would you ever want to do something so horrifying and so dangerous? If that is the people's mentality, why does an amulet of growth even exist? If this were an actual game right here, what we would see playing out is that players would think at first, okay, then, based upon my build right here, what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, and they would either realize that they could use an amulet of growth from the outset and quickly level up, or they would use an amulet of protection and protect themselves while slowly leveling up, so that way they could be at a higher level, feel like they could then level up much faster by taking an amulet of growth and then going and smashing a bunch of slimes and evil bats and whatnot. That is what people would do. And on top of that, if you have these magical amulets, there's got to be more magical amulets that any sort of gamer or adventurer or aspiring hero would get and use in various combinations in order to level up as fast as they could, in order to either save the day, protect their family, become really rich and famous through how high their level is at. This is what infuriates me when it comes to how magic is used, especially video game logic with your magic in various stories. Because so many of these people who write these things don't understand gamers. Most gamers want to level up. They want to dominate the game that they are playing. So why then does no one in any of these worlds think along those lines? And it's just common sense. Oh, it bugs me so much. This is one thing I definitely have against the story right here, because if you have this kind of magic, and if you have a system where people can rank themselves by level, and they can go up in level if they kill monsters, you would expect people to do that regularly. So what Yumilia is doing right here is the norm. It should be the norm, and yet it's considered the most dangerous, most unorthodox thing that anyone could ever do, and that really ticks me off. Okay, so looking at your guys' comments right here, from Mr. Emeriv, otherwise that amulet would not be for sale in the first place. Exactly. People would want these kinds of things. There should be a market for them, otherwise they would never be made. Rubens, as a rich landlord, I see this as an absolute win. From Ryan, well, people tend to view steroids as dangerous or bad, but they're still used by some. Exactly. Even if some people think that it would be dangerous to level up, there still would be enough people out there in this world who would do it, and for a variety of reasons. So yeah, that I understand that. Rubens, money equals the win. Yes. Kill the monsters, sell the resources, get money, and there's so much you can do in this world with money. It makes the world go round. It doesn't buy you happiness, but it can buy you possibilities. And come back to Mr. Emmerich, the same for the monster calling horn. Why does it even exist? Yes, in a world where people don't go into dungeons to grind for levels, why does a monster calling horn exist like we're going to see? It actually is a good item. It really is, and it is something that would actually exist within this world, except that for whatever reason, the culture seems to run counter to that. So this is what I find really annoying right here, because what Yumilia is doing, this is actually really good. For what we want from our hero, from our heroine, she is doing the right thing. This is what we want to see. We want to see a character exercising with their magic, building up their strength, gaining experience, learning more about the world, and exploring the magic system. Fantastic. However, why is it that the rest of the world does not act this way when the mechanics in order for it to act this way exist? It's counterproductive. It's a little infuriating. ISO, as a gamer, all items have a use, even if it seems horrible. Exactly. And there's also some items that exist to make it harder for you to win, which is something that some gamers really love. They love the challenge. And again, that's actually where the horn kind of comes in handy. What if a person's like, I need to test my strength. Let me use this horn, call the monsters in, and I'm fighting and I'm battling, and I have my buddies nearby to hopefully bail me out. Hopefully you didn't say, hold my beer and watch me do this, because then you are going to die. Mr. Emmer, if not the same, if they were drops. True. And again, if you're going to make a story run according to the logic mechanics of a video game, you need to understand how whatever video game you are borrowing the rules from, why it works that way, how it works, and why it works that way, I should say. You need to understand the mechanics. You need to understand why the developers put in those mechanics to spice up the gaming experience, to add in lore, to add in challenges, or to provide opportunities. So that's something that needs to be understood. And coming back to ISO, in Elden Ring, the Dragon Scale Blade was seen as awful in PvP. I tried it and I went over half the battles I fought. That's very interesting right there. So yeah, depending on the build of your character, depending on the items that you use, an item that is considered really stupid can actually then become really good. And again, in a world of adventurers where levels exist, I would expect that there's like an adventurers guild somewhere out there, even though the story of Villainous Level 99 deals more with a high society magical academy. So they might not be dealing with adventurers guilds. They might be doing something very different than an adventurers guild, but still an adventurers guild would exist. And you would expect those adventurers to meet up with Yumilia in the dungeon and be like, little girl, what are you doing here? Be impressed with her skills. And that could have been a little neat side story right there of like Yumilia working with adventurers who helped to teach her other techniques or various ways to use different magical items in order to help boost her stats and do even better in her dungeon grinding. All right, so it's all about the technique. How do you use this useless item to be really good? Exactly. Learning how to use what you got. So again, all of that could be done perfectly right here for Yumilia, and for what the story is worth, I think it actually does it well, but it's very clear that there's some issues that are already building up. We got some more red flags, especially when we get to the end of this amalgamated episode, as I will show you guys. Maybe not necessarily soon enough, but I will definitely show you.
ダンジョンに潜った。一人でも平気だろ。腕一本くらいなら魔法で再生できるし。クリアした。
I conquered it.
さらに魔物呼びの笛も手に入れ。来る日も。来る日も。来る日も。15歳の今日までただひたすらに効率重視のレベル上げ、同じダンジョンを数えきれないほど周回した。
緊張しているのかい？大丈夫。入学時はレベル1でも恥ずかしくないよ。
違う、そうじゃない。
AKA Magic Crystal Ball is there to judge her. We then get this. She's level 99. Makes total sense. She wasn't just born that way. She actually had to grow up to be level 99. And that works really, really well. However, as we're going to see right here, that now means that all of these people who came on in, who are the creme la creme of the up-and-coming generation at this highfalutin, expensive, high-class magical academy, they're all going to be upset that this girl from the sticks, who they all look down on, has a higher level than her. So this then makes sense why she then finds herself in a situation where, as we're going to see, everyone either doubts her or is bullying her. So even though she's OP, she is still getting bullied. Gray-haired dude is in shock. Yeah, that's why his hair is gray, because he just absolutely is in shock about this level 99 girl. So, continuing.
さて、どう手加減しようか。レベル上げのための魔物狩りは魔法がメインだったけど、私は物理攻撃もめちゃくちゃ強い。
さあ、どうしたイカサマ女。やめるなら今のうちだぞ。
お前の生死は私の繊細さにかかっているんだが。
では、両者構えて。
Ah, yes. Japanese
おい
sword
早く
stances.
止めろ。それとも戦わずに降参か。
すみません。剣を使うのは初めてなので。
Which I should not badmouth because they actually are really good.
どこまでバカにする気だ。
But there
女
are
だ
the
からっ
sword
て手加減は
stances
しないからな。
that can
根の一本や二本は折れる
cancel
と
them
思え。
back. Baseball bat swinging style is not one of them.
ごめん。ここまで盛大にずっこけるとは思わなくて。意外と丈夫だな。ではなくて、大丈夫だろうか。これで何かあったら、もしもの時は、教師の監督責任を追及する所存。政府っぽいな。ああ、私が保健室に運びましょうか。
So I carry him to the nurse's office from the collar of his shirt. Yes, what I was saying right there. Yes, depending on what you're dealing with as far as the sword stance goes, there is no one winner take like one beats all sword stance, because it does depend on what your opponent is using, what you're using, and so forth, and other various kinds of stances and techniques have been developed in order to try to counter others. So the reasons why the fencing scene from The Princess Bride is actually really intense and smart, because they are using various kinds of techniques and stances to try to beat the other person, and depending on what you know, you can counter the other, even if they actually might have a superior blade or a superior stance. So there's some good stuff right there in that. It is good to know your sword stances if you're going to write a story like this. And yeah, especially for him coming on in with his freaking baseball bat right there. All she would have to do, if she had enough strength for it, is just lift up the blade, deflect his, and then step forward, and her blade goes right into his face or into his neck or anywhere that she wishes to hit him in order to incapacitate him. Yes, F's in the chat for William, the poor lad. He got beaten real bad right there. Now then, here is something. Here's something that I'm going to that I'm going to say right here. What we saw with her beating William in this mock sword fight is not the girl boss moment. It isn't. And the reason why it isn't the girl boss moment is because she hasn't beaten the system yet. She hasn't proven herself. She hasn't overcome any of the obstacles yet that have been placed in her way. Instead, she is being challenged. That's what's happening here. And if you watch the whole episode and get the whole context, you'll realize that the bullying has only but begun. So she's trying to stand up to the bullies, and she's doing a good job. But that doesn't mean that the bullies are going to stop. So, here we go. When I took them long enough to find out, hopefully I don't get a strike. Let's see here. Do I have a lovely strike against me? I actually don't have. Let's see here. Let me quickly pop on over what have they said. No! Yeah, look at that! Yes. No strikes against me yet. At least, oh well, we're seeing where this goes. Next time, just the subs, no audio. Yeah, like I said, this is where we're going with this. We're flirting with danger right here. In any case, so coming back to it, but what we see right here, what's happening with Emilia, this is just basically her dealing with the bullying. This isn't actually yet the girl boss moments. So let's just bear that in mind as we then proceed to the next challenge that she has.
4つの属性をすべて使いこなすなんて天才と言われるだけのことはありますね。
何大したことはありません。
Here we have our
次
next
は君の番だ。
prodigy.
どんな素晴らしい魔法を見せてくれるのかな。
さっきの授業にいなかったから、私がウィリアムをぶっ飛ばしたことを知らないんだな。実のところ私は、基本の4属性魔法がまともに使えない。そう、私は。
And so then, here's another thing. Here's another way to actually balance out your overpowered character. Sure, she's got a ridiculous level. She's level 99, and she can use dark magic very proficiently. What we already see right here is that she admits, I can't use any of the other elements of magic really well or at all. And again, that's actually really good. It's one of the things that prevents this character from simply just evolving into a Mary Sue bit of nonsense because she can't just simply conjure up fire or air or earth or what have you at the drop of a hat and be awesome. So, hey.
筋肉と闇に才能を極振りした女なので。この的って壊してしまっても大丈夫ですか？
あれは特殊な加工をしたものだ。それに僕ですら壊せないのに君に壊せるはずがないだろう。
壊せに。I guess it was shut down. Oh well. Well, that was fun to. That was fun right there. Oh well. Stream suspended for policy violations. We tried. Oh, sorry there, Daisy. Oh, honey. Well,